Okay, welcome back to GA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I'm joined here by Michael Smith and Brian Walsh from the Waterford Hurling Fanpage. Here to preview this weekend's All Ireland Hurling Championship final between Waterford and Limerick. I suppose, Michael, we'll come to you first. What's the excitement been like in Waterford going into this final? Obviously, would have been 2020 and all that at strange times, but what's the excitement been like in the county coming into this?
Yeah, it's been quite different. Like normally beforehand you get a good buzz around, but like it's been quite neutral. Even like on the local radio, like it's been quiet enough. It'll probably help Waterford. Like it's probably ideal that we're in a pandemic, so it's probably better for the player that there's not too much of a hype in the media and everything. So it's grand. But no, it's certainly different anyway.
And I suppose, Brian, like, could you ever imagined before a ball was pucked, like in the lockdown and everything, that Waterford would actually go on to reach an All-Ireland final and potentially win it? Because I think, everyone was always looking at the usuals like Limerick, Tipperary, Galway, Kilkenny, and I suppose no one ever really considered Waterford to really be in with a chance of winning it this year. So did you ever imagine that this would potentially happen?
Well, I suppose it's obviously been a fairly disastrous couple of years for Waterford since the last appearance in an All-Ireland final. And I suppose I personally didn't know a whole lot about Liam Cahill before he came in. Obviously, I had heard he had won this and that with the Tipperary minors, the under-21s. And I was thinking, right, okay, so he's clearly got a bit of pedigree in the game. He's going to come in. He's going to shake things up. He dropped Noel Connors. He dropped Maurice Shanahan straight away. And I kind of thought, right, okay, this fella means business. He's not here for a paycheck. He's here to make a serious impact on Waterford Hurling. And myself and Michael were only talking before the championship, saying, I suppose, anything could happen. Like even you look at the soccer, Liverpool won the Premier League. I mean, you never would have thought that was going to happen for a long time, and they went and did it. So Michael said it to me. He said, well, why can't Waterford win the All-Ireland? This could be the year. And I kind of said, I don't know. But look, anything can happen. And I think they're definitely going to be up for it on Sunday.
Yeah, I suppose with it being 2020 and all that, like there have been some mad things that have happened this year, and I suppose with Mayo playing the Dubs as well, like you never quite know. Like, I suppose, like, Michael, how impressed have you been with Waterford since Liam Cahill's come in? Like, because obviously he's definitely taken them to new heights and changed a lot of things, like Brian was saying there.
Yeah, look, they've been tremendous. Like the Cork game, Waterford were written off every game they're after playing this season, and they're after coming out again and again. Even in the Munster final, like nobody fancied Waterford, nobody tipped them off, and look, they put in a very, very good performance, and you definitely see the essence of Derek's team is there, but Liam's after putting it up another 10 notches. So like, there's passion in the team and there's belief, and you're after seeing that. And against Kilkenny, especially like the first half, look, it just nothing was working for us. We couldn't do the simple things. We couldn't pass the ball. We were having stupid wides and everything. And then there seems to be a lot of belief in the team, and I think you could even see on the line like Liam and Michael Bivan, the assist manager, the belief in the lads is fantastic, and I think the lads need it, and they need the encouragement. I think Liam Cahill's man management has been fantastic as well. You look at what he's after doing with the likes of Ozzy and even Tyke Burkett. Tyke's after missing a good chunk of the last 2 years with injuries and stuff, so he's after turning out some of the lads into fantastic players. So hopefully now Sunday we'll see more of it again.
And I suppose, what players have stood out for you, Brian, like in this championship campaign? Like, I mean, there's been a lot of like new players that have come on the scene as well, like Desi Hutchinson, obviously involved with Waterford before, but obviously was away playing soccer with Brighton. Like, so I suppose, like, what players in general in this campaign have stood out for you the most?
I think the biggest has to be Caelan Lyons. I think he has to get a shout out because I can't remember exactly when his debut was. It was under Paul Fanning in the league last year. It could have been Alicia Way. I'm not 100% certain, but I remember when I saw him on the lineup, I thought, geez, I have no idea who this is. I hadn't heard of him at all, and he came in and he played very well. Now, obviously, it was League 1B. It was against, say if it was against Laois, it was against Laois, up in Laois. I suppose Waterford were probably always going to win that game. So it was an easy game for him to go into. But this year, since the Cork game, the whole way along, he's just been magnificent. Like, he scored 1-3 against Cork, I think, as a wing back. That's some scoring. Like, on a normal day, that could be a man of the match performance. But I suppose Waterford were so good against Cork that he kind of went under the radar a little bit. And I suppose aside from him, I'd have to say Stephen Bennett's been fantastic, because taking over free duties from Pádraig Mahoney, I was very anxious for that at the start of the year, because obviously he had been taking them in the league, and his technique was originally, he'd aim it very low, so it'd just be going above the crossbar. And kind of be looking at it like, I don't like the look of that. That's dangerous. Keepers could easily get a hurley up and save it. Do you know, that kind of way? Like, he was taking risks with his frees, but whatever he's been doing the last couple of months, I'd say he's been putting in serious work on the training pitch, because his frees now are very reliable. They're fantastic, and as much as we've missed Pádraig Mahoney, Stephen's definitely filled the void as best he can, and I think it's definitely worth noting.
And Michael, for you, like, say, like, even players like Austin Gleeson as well, like, obviously his second half performance against Kilkenny, like, he looked almost back to his best, like, from his 2017 form. So how crucial do you think even he will be in this final? Like, because if he turns it on, and you have Stephen Bennett, Calum Lyons as well, all performing to the highest degree, like, you'd definitely be in with a chance, I'd imagine.
Yeah, like, I have to say, I think it's the first time since the early 2000s that we have a threat in our forward line. Like, Ozzy's a big player, and he's able to play really everywhere on the pitch. So his presence is going to be vital. We need him to be at his best, and I think you even look at second half against Kilkenny, and the point he scored at the end, you just saw it, and you're kind of saying to yourself, Jesus, Ozzy's back. Like, you just know there's belief in him as a player, and I think if he's 100% at it, I think he could be a game changer Sunday. Definitely on it.
And I suppose, Brian, like, looking at this Limerick team, then, like, what have you made of them so far? Like, obviously, won every game so far in 2020, but I suppose in the past few games, like, they probably haven't looked like they've been at their best. So, like, what have you made of them so far this year?
I suppose I missed the league game when Waterford played Limerick. I was actually travelling, but I know they kind of dispatched the Waterford fairly handy that day. And then in the Munster final, I had actually texted a few people, including Michael, saying, "Look, Limerick aren't at their best here, and Waterford still can't get them." I think it was the end of the first half. I kind of said, "Look, what happens if Limerick go up a gear? We're going to be wiped out," because I thought Limerick, maybe they were, if you want to use the analogy of a car, Limerick were in maybe second or third gear. They could have easily went up to fourth or fifth gear, and they didn't. And I suppose it was the same against Galway. They didn't really hit the heights that you kind of be used to seeing them hitting over the last couple of years. But the worrying thing is they're still winning all of their games, and they're winning them relatively comfortably. So honestly, like, that's definitely the biggest worry, I think, going into Sunday, because if they come out on Sunday and decide, right, we're going to play like we played in 2018, it could be bad. Like, it could be good, it could be bad, I don't know. But that's definitely the most worrying thing, that I don't think they've hit top gear yet. And like, there's a lot of talk about the bench that Limerick have, and like, you look at players like Pat Ryan, he comes on with 10 minutes to go in pretty much every single game, and he always gets 1 or 2 points. And you've got others as well. Off the top of my head now, Darragh O'Donovan, he comes on, he always makes an impact. You know, so they've got the panel as well. So it's hard to know. Like I said, they're winning all of their games, but they're definitely not playing their best hurling. So it's hard to say. I don't know. That's probably my biggest worry.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with you there in the Waterford game. It always looked like they were kind of in control of it. It was almost like, two boxers going at it, and one boxer just weighing out the win on decision. That's kind of how it felt like in many ways.
Yeah, like, I never really thought Waterford were going to catch him on the day, but it was just whatever way Limerick were playing, they weren't necessarily at their best. But no matter how good Waterford were, Limerick just seemed that bit ahead of them on the day. And I think Waterford have probably learned a lot from that game, and obviously from subsequent games after, like particularly the Kilkenny game. So I think that should make for a different game on Sunday. But yeah, like, Limerick were totally in control in that Munster final.
And I suppose, Michael, like what danger men do you look out for in that Limerick side? Like, do you think that maybe could cause the most problems for that Waterford side? Because I suppose they've talent all around the pitch, and I mean it's unclear whether Aaron Gallan's going to start. I mean, they say it's 50-50. Personally, I think he probably will. He will be involved. I'd say most likely. But like, what do you reckon yourself? Like, who do you think is going to be the danger men for Limerick in this game?
Gallan, definitely. If he plays, he's going to be trouble for us. But like Peter Casey gave us wicked hassle in the Munster final, and he kind of gave McNulty a hard enough challenge in the first half. So no, I think they have a few danger men now. To be honest with you, I can't even think of half the Limerick players now, to be honest with you. But I definitely Gallan's a big threat if he plays. But no, look, if he plays, we'll have to do the same what we did to Tony Kelly. We'll just have to try and get him out of the game early. And I don't know if man marking's the best situation, because they have a fairly their forward line is threatening. So I don't know, but they're going to have to find out a way to kind of keep him out of the game as much as possible, because even the high balls in against Kilkenny and Clare, it killed the Waterford backline. So I think if they keep their forwards, if they manage to keep the control the high balls a bit now, they should be okay. But no, I think Gallan's our biggest threat, I think, in the Limerick forward line anyway.
And I suppose what I suppose like areas of this Limerick team do you think, Brian, that Limerick could even or that Waterford could even exploit? I suppose. Do you think maybe it could just be a case of the fact that they haven't been up to speed and it's pressure maybe getting to them a little bit, or do you see any kind of other weaknesses in this Limerick team?
Well, I think one thing they can't get into the habit of doing is hitting high balls into the Limerick backline, because the Limerick backline are phenomenal. They're such big, strong men. Like, you've got Declan Hannon, you've got Dan Morrissey. Like, these are big men, and you're not going to beat them in the air. So I think the best thing to do is get the ball to Desi Hutchinson and just run at them, because Desi, when he's running at someone, he's a sight to behold. Like, he's an athlete. When he runs at someone, he can take anyone on. So I think ultimately the best thing they're going to have to do is try and keep the ball down and run at the backs rather than lobbing balls in, because especially with puck outs, like, you look at Waterford's puck outs, and on a good day they're about 40-50% accurate. Like, they're not, the puck outs are definitely probably Waterford's weakest point. So I think if they can keep it short and just keep the balls low and not go high onto that Limerick backline, there's definitely room for exploitation there. But I mean, in terms of picking holes in that Limerick team, it's very hard to pick a weakness. Like, they've got leaders from the back the whole way out, from Nicky Quaid all the way up to the likes of Aaron Gallan, Graham Mulcahy, Garrod Hegarty. Like, these are all leaders in that Limerick team. So it's very hard to find a place Waterford can exploit. But I think running at that back line is probably our best bet.
Yeah, I suppose, I'd have to agree with you as well. Like, I think from watching them against Galway, even at times, like they sometimes give away like a few silly frees. Sometimes when you charge at them a bit, they seem to be a little bit vulnerable under high challenges a bit. So I think that's definitely areas maybe where Waterford could exploit, I'd say, with the likes of Hutchinson and Stephen Bennett. I suppose for yourself, Michael, like, what like when you look at this Waterford side, like, is there any weaknesses in that team, do you think, that maybe could worry you a bit that Limerick could potentially capitalise on? Or I suppose, is there any players out there that you'd rather not see on the pitch, I suppose, coming into this?
I think obviously, as Brian said, the puck outs are a big issue. I think Stephen's going to have to either mix it up a bit and try short pockets and try long pockets and see how it works. But at the end of the day, it's what Liam Cahill tells him to do. So if Liam Cahill tells him to stick with the long balls in, I suppose he'll have to do that. But we saw Jake Dillon getting taken off early against Kilkenny. So I hope Jake starts, because he has a big physical presence and he has a lot of experience. But at the same time, do Waterford run at Limerick, or do we try to match their physical presence? And I think what Waterford's weakness would be that they have a lot of small players compared to Limerick. And again, with the high balls, it's going to be an issue in. So do they try and keep it not on the ground, but do they try keep it from going in the air the whole time and try keep simple passes and stuff like that? Or do they just try and lob it into Ozzy or full forward or Stephen Bennett? So it's going to be difficult. The physical presence, though, it's a big factor in the game, especially for Waterford. But hopefully we'll be able to match Limerick. But I think it's going to be a big factor of the game to see what way Waterford will go, because in the Munster final, Waterford should have gotten a few goals. And I think if they gotten 1 or 2 goals, I think we would have won the game. But I think Waterford's biggest weakness out of all of them would be the water breaks. The water breaks are after killing us in the Munster final especially. And then against Clare in the first half, like, we were ahead by 8 points before the water break, and we came out then in the first half after the water break, and Clare got 2 goals. So I think we just need to make sure that we keep our motivation up, and if we're on form, that we keep going like we did against Kilkenny. But definitely the water breaks could be a weakness for Waterford.
And I suppose if we get some predictions for the game, Brian, like, we'll come to you first. How do you see it panning out?
I think, like Michael said, the water breaks are crucial, and starting off early is also going to be very important. Like you've seen against Clare, Waterford took off like a light, got the 2 goals early on, and then Clare came back, but ultimately Waterford just had too much for them in that second half. But against Kilkenny, that game, a lot of people would have said that game was dead and buried at half time. And if you said that to me, I would have said, yeah, look, you know what? It probably is, because Kilkenny they were phenomenal in that first half, and Waterford may as well have not been on the pitch. But then when you think back, I suppose, when Kilkenny played Dublin, it was the same thing. And Dublin managed to get back at Kilkenny, and they got back to level. But Kilkenny just had too much for them in the end. And that was the difference, I suppose, between Waterford and Dublin, is that Waterford just have those more experienced players. They have better players than Dublin. As good as Dublin are, and Dublin are improving, Waterford are, obviously we can probably say Waterford are a better hurling team than Dublin. But in terms of predictions for this game, I think Waterford are going to have to go for goals. I think, realistically speaking, Limerick are phenomenal point scorers. They're going to be getting 20 plus points in any game they walk out and play. So I think Waterford are going to have to get a couple of goals. I'd be saying something along the lines of maybe 219 to 121 to Waterford. If Waterford were to win by a point, I'd be pretty happy with that, I think. It'd end the wait of however many years, 59 years or something. So
yeah, and I suppose for Michael,
go with that.
Yeah, and I suppose, Michael, how do you see it panning out yourself?
Yeah, as Brian was saying, they need a good start. Like you saw in 2017, even, like, they were slow enough to start off, and like they got the goal then and set the nerves. So like if they get a good start, they get an early goal, I could see us going the whole way. Hopefully anyway. It'd be great. But no, I think it will be a tight game. I don't think there will be much in it, but I'm going to go 2-20 to Waterford to 2-18 to Limerick.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to back Waterford to win it, I personally just feel like Limerick will have too much. Like, I feel like they've been relentless all year, but certainly no doubt, like, I'd love to see Waterford do it, just because of the fact that they haven't won it in such a long time. And I suppose maybe that sounds a bit rich coming from a Dublin fan, but yeah, I definitely love to see Waterford do it. But yeah, lads, no, I appreciate you both coming on, and yeah, I'll link down the Waterford Hurling fan page, the Facebook page, down below as well, for anyone who wants to check it out. So yeah, I appreciate you both coming on.
No worries.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity.